tuned into SEC Sunday Night, part of the Chief Sports Network.
This is SEC Sunday Night on the Chief Sports Network.
SEC, and this is SEC Sunday Night Live every Sunday on the Chief Sports Network. We are here. I'm Rob Williams. He is Craig McMichael, and we are joined tonight by a host of guests. We're excited to welcome in Connor Goodson from Hog Sports, Maggie Johnson from Mizzou, that's who, Darius Gray, 5-star offensive lineman commit to South Carolina, will be here with us later, and David Johnson will close the show with a Rebels 247, and we're excited about all of those as we take you through all 16 teams in the SEC tonight and give you our predictions for how things are going to unfold. Craig, first of all, happy Sunday, my friend. What's going on? Welcome.
Dude, we had college football this week, and I think we also have our first I Was Wrong segment, because who did you have? Did you have Iowa State or did you have Kansas State?
Listen, we have nobody sponsoring I Was Wrong this week. We can't do the segment. Sorry. But we are presented by Hewitt-Damaduras. Chief Sports Network, in partnership with Hewitt-Damaduras Law, presents SEC Sunday Night every week at 8 p.m. Hewitt-Damaduras is here for you in your time of need. These guys are not just personal injury attorneys. They're the best that exist, and they're here for you, whether it's a car accident, fall, dog bite, personal injury, insurance claim, you name it. Brad and Dean are big on relationships, and they want to be here for you. It's hdlawsc.com to contact Brad and Dean. Hewitt-Damaduras Law. Make sure that you give him a call. If you can't say Damaduras, he can't spell it. So just go ahead and call him anyway. It'll be fine. All right. It's a real good endorsement from my buddy over there, right? He can spell it now. Just maybe not when we were growing up. Okay. Now let's jump into some news that matters. Okay. News that matters. First and foremost, obviously, SEC is going to 9 conference games. We kind of saw this coming. You and I have debated this for a really long time. So congratulations, my friend, on finally getting your way and having 9 conference games, okay? So how do we feel about this? You got an additional Power 4 opponent. Give us the highlights. Let's get the rundown.
Yeah, sure. So first off, I was right, yes, in this argument. So that's 2 tonight. So in case we're keeping track, which of course we are. Greg Sankey came out, and the league came out Thursday. Kind of said, hey, for 2026, we'll be going to a 9-game SEC conference schedule. So stop whining, Kurt Signetti. Now you're going to actually see what it means for the best conference in the land to play that. We're still not going to have any divisions. We're going to be still divisionless. Every team will have 3 annual opponents. Those opponents are going to be based on geography, balance, and rivalry. I think that should be pretty interesting. And I think here's the best part. Georgia has not played at Texas A&M, and LSU has not come between the hedges since 2013. Well, after 2026, that's no longer going to be a problem, because in a 4-year cycle, so as these kids graduate, or maybe like me that took 5 or 6 years to graduate, everyone is going to be able to be home and away at every SEC stadium. I think that is the best part. And then, as you mentioned, don't worry, South Carolina. Don't worry, Georgia, Kentucky. You still get to keep that guaranteed ACC game that you have had, because there is a requirement that the SEC will also have an additional Power 4 team against a Big 10 team, ACC, or Big 12. To all this being said,
Notre Dame. Don't forget about Notre Dame. That was a caveat.
They're in the ACC. Notre Dame is one with the ACC. There's no difference there. So they can talk about being independent, but they're in the ACC. I think at the end of the day, this is going to be great, because what it's going to do College Football Playoff Committee came out this week, talked about how strength of schedule is going to be a big metric. We know about the conference depth. We brag about it, but the data also shows that the SEC is the strongest conference. This is going to provide more data points, more teams in the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is that it obviously provides an opportunity to lose another game. And the committee showed its colors last year in terms of if you lose games, it doesn't necessarily matter who you lose to or what that is. Or if you win games, we're not necessarily looking at the quality, we're just looking at the number. And so there's a little bit of concern for me on that part, but I do think that eventually you're correct that this balances out and that the strength of schedule is gonna come to strengthen the SEC's argument. And you'll see who we can get into the college football playoff, which will feature the stadium that's here behind me, Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Just like to make a note that, of course, as the SEC championship is played there, there's also a couple of opening games this coming weekend. Tennessee and South Carolina will play. Syracuse on Saturday. South Carolina plays Virginia Tech on Sunday, both in this stadium. Intern Lucas and I will be present in the stadium for both games, and so we will be on the line with Craig. Just kind of breaking down a couple of local SEC matchups that we can get into. Craig, the biggest thing for me is, as we look at this, become the biggest talking point is not 9 conference games. It's not the additional P4 opponent. It's the 3 quote-unquote rivals that each team is going to get. Just for the sake of argument, before we get there, do you have for Georgia in mind?
I do. Auburn and Florida are pretty easy. I wrote about them last word, and I think Auburn and Florida are the 2 easy ones. Most logical is probably Kentucky or that school in Columbia, South Carolina, the Gamecocks. I would argue that the SEC should think a little bit bigger. And again, if we're thinking about TV ratings, we're also thinking about some big lights. I think Georgia should either look at Alabama or Texas. And to be honest, if I had my choice, it would be Texas, because those would be big must-see television games. You're guaranteeing that every year. And I kind of see, like, if Saban was still at Alabama, that makes sense. But we're already playing in Alabama with Auburn. Go give us Texas. So to me, Auburn, Florida, and Texas.
Wow. I don't, regionality, I guess, gives you the Auburn and Florida game, and then you reach for a big new rival there. Okay, so as we turn the page a little bit, we have some new gear deals coming up. We saw last week that Tennessee makes the move from Nike to Adidas for a giant $20 million check. And then South Carolina and, Auburn's deal has already taken place. South Carolina now moving on to the bandwagon of moving from Under Armour, which I'm sporting, rest in peace, on my hat, to Nike. And as we know here on the Chief Sports Network, our flagship shows inside the Gamecocks, the morning show and the show. A couple of weeks ago, Jamie Bradford and I talked a little bit about the Under Armour contract with South Carolina, and he was reading the language and pointing out that South Carolina was not to be in talks with other apparel companies until January 1st, unless notified by Under Armour. So really what this says to me more than anything is, we look before we even get statements from anybody or have to do any digging, is that something, as was rumored, is going on at Under Armour. And I just have to wonder, how long can they hang on anywhere? You got Maryland, you got Notre Dame left over. It seems like a matter of time before another company comes in and buys Under Armour. But what if any significance on your part is there to these schools making these moves?
To be honest, I think Nike was the pick there. I think that was always a flash. We've kind of had a hierarchy there. Nike has always been the, kind of the favorite son. Jordans are somewhere in there. Under Armour is in that 2 range, and then Adidas is somewhere below Russell Athletic, down in 4 or 5. But what is interesting with all of these contract languages is the cash that is going to the athletic departments. So what I think you're going to start seeing more are these teams are going to be bouncing between apparel companies, and they're going to leverage these apparel companies to find out who is going to bring the most cash to the athletic departments and to help to balance the budget. I think it was something, there was like $50 million or something like that going to Tennessee. I think South Carolina had a similar number. So,
yeah, I think the biggest breakdown for me as we get ready to bring Connor in here is that with Under Armour, the traditional setup was that Under Armour is going to give more cash and less gear money, whereas what you see with Nike is you're going to get significantly less cash per year, but you're going to get a much higher gear number. So it's just a matter of how they're choosing to flesh some of this stuff out. But the interesting piece is some of the money that's given to the school as well that can be used in NIL dollars, which is an interesting piece to bring in now that we're in this new era, that the apparel companies can also contribute in this contract and setup. So we'll see as things develop. I think that things are kind of settled as they are right now. Most of the schools in the SEC are with Nike. That's going to give you basically the same setup as far as gear goes as what the NFL is doing in terms of jerseys and cleats and whatnot, at least in terms of football. South Carolina's deal also includes a new basketball court that will feature Nike designers and I'm sure have swooshes everywhere on the court. But the big other selling piece for South Carolina outside of the football program is obviously Dawn Staley and the women's basketball team. There's been a lot made of that. And so I'm interested to see how Nike swags out the ladies. All right. Without further ado, it's time to get into our season breakdown of all 16 teams in the SEC. I'll give you the rundown for it in just a moment. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and bring Connor Goodson in here. On the TriFit Performance guest line. Each week, guests are brought to you by TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance in Lexington. Mitch is the owner and lead physical therapist at TriFit. He's a great guy, but he really also knows what he's doing. He believes in real health and peak performance, and that those things start with personalized care. And so we're excited to point you in that direction. TriFitPerformance.com is where you need to go to book an appointment. Whether you're an athlete bouncing back from an injury or just pushing to that next personal best, TriFit literally has your back. Okay, so you get expert coaching, hands-on therapy, no insurance red tape. You go in for a shoulder. You need to talk about a knee. You want to talk nutrition. We can switch up the plan. We can change it up. All right. So clients are driving from over 100 miles away just to see Mitch. And I would advise you to do the same at TriFitPerformance.com to book an appointment. TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, where recovery meets results. All right. Let's get going. And first of all, we want to say hello to Connor Goodson here from Hog Sports to talk about the Razorbacks with us just a little bit. We're going to start there. And then just to let everybody know the format of how things are going to work tonight, we have 3 quadrants. So we'll talk about 4 teams in each segment. And Craig and I are going to give you a gem that you did not get earlier in the year. Because the week before we moved to this platform and launched as SEC Sunday Night, on the final episode of our former show, it just means more football and coffee, we gave our spring ball record predictions. And so we always set our record predictions in the spring. I gave an opportunity for us to make some adjustments, but most of the games we left them where they are. So we'll kind of update you on where we thought teams were, where we think they are now with roster composition. But we have somebody in for each segment to help us out. And tonight we have Connor to talk about Arkansas. So first and foremost, Connor, how's it going? And how's the temperature around college football in Fayetteville?
Yeah, man, it's going good. I appreciate y'all having me on, and it was good to actually watch some football this week and get a little taste of some week one action before week one action really ramps up this week. The temperature in Fayetteville is interesting. I think that over the summer, especially in the dog days of summer, there was a lot of guys, fans just not really interested, not really locked in and as tapped in as they used to be through the seasons. And I think that a big part of that's because there's a lot of pressure on Sam Pittman. This year is a huge year. A lot of people, majority of fan base, probably wanted to see a change or two made this offseason, and we're shocked that it didn't happen. I think that the temperature coming in for Sam Pittman is definitely warm to hot for sure on his seat. And I think that if things go south early in the year, it's not going to look very good from Fayetteville. So a lot of big games early in the season that could really change the trajectory of this program, depending on how they go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you look at year 2 of Bobby Petrino and Taylon Green, I think that you've been able to see definitely probably some development under that relationship. And so I'm interested to see from your perspective, is that kind of the saving grace, what everybody's expecting to kind of take off in terms of making a run for the Hogs in 2025?
I really think so. I think that that's kind of where, if you look at this team, where they spent a lot of their money in the offseason to really bolster different positions group, a lot of that money went towards the offensive line. Last year, the offensive line was abysmal. Taylon Green, I don't think a lot of people know this, the hit he took in the Tennessee game that in the knee, from that point on, he was playing about 60, 70% health. He was never fully healthy the rest of the season, and he was still taking shots game after game. And I think that, you look at this offense, you've got to be able to protect him, because you look at Bobby Petrino's history, his track record, I went back to his first head coaching stint at Louisville. All through the years, anytime he's had a second year with a quarterback, that quarterback has improved either yardage, completion percentage, touchdowns, and they've done better with their interceptions and turnovers in general, like taking care of the football. So I think that a key part in that is that, there's a lot more comfortability, but the offensive line is a lot better than they were last year. They went out and they added a lot more size, a lot more skill and experience. And I think that they really bolstered that room, and it should be a strength for this team. And if they can protect Taylor Green and, open up holes in the run game to keep defenses honest, then you'll see Taylor Green make that step and Bobby Petrino's offense really flourish, I think.
Question. Yeah, so question on not only the offense, but also you talked about Sam Pittman and the little bit of pressure he's facing.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 5 games before the bye in week 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can check mark Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas State, but it's the next 3 that I think are going to tell the tale.
Mm-hmm.
At Ole Miss, at Memphis, and then home against Notre Dame. What does that record have to be going into that bye week to make sure that Sam's still there?
I mean, Personally, I think that if you really want to jumpstart this season and make a statement, you got to go 2-1 in that stretch. I think you got to get 2 of those 3. And obviously that's a lot easier said than done, because you're going on the road to open conference play against Ole Miss. There's, a lot of question marks with them, but the overwhelming consensus is that there's going to be a typical Ole Miss team. They also beat Arkansas pretty badly last year. Like, it wasn't, they came into Fayetteville and just dog walked them for the entire game. So I think, and then there's some off the field stuff with Lane Kiffin taking shots at Arkansas, maybe being Ole Miss's farm team. He retweeted a tweet like that, and different things, players going to Ole Miss from Arkansas the last few years. I think that there's a little bit of, a chip on their shoulder coming in. So I think that game is one that they have circled, and they should have circled. You go in there and you win in Oxford, I think that silences a little bit of the fan base, the vocal majority that want him, wanted to see a change. I think that, if you go into that game and, you play close and you come out with a win, that can really kind of, jumpstart a season. You look at Missouri's last few seasons, they've been able to build confidence and get going hot to start. And that's really propelled them to these, 11, 10 win seasons under Eli Drinkwitz. And Arkansas, they just haven't had that. They stumble out of the gates, and then they're kind of struggling to put things together through the course of the season. So you really got to get some momentum early, and I think that Ole Miss game is important. I also think that game in Memphis is no slouch either. Memphis has been one of the better group of 5 teams. Just ask Ole Miss in 2015 and 2019. They went in there and lost both those times. So that's not a gimme win either. So that 3-game stretch, I think, is going to tell us a lot about how this season's going to go. And I think it's going to tell us a lot about whether Sam Pittman is here next year and beyond.
I think that, again, that stretch is really difficult. And props to Arkansas for scheduling tough out of conference. I mean, Memphis is kind of a crazy – I get it from a geographical standpoint in history there, but it's just unfortunate, I think, for the Hogs to kind of get Memphis on an upswing.
Yeah.
And just out of conference in general is very strong for them this year. Who do you think inside the conference, though, as we talk about a 9-conference game slate, are there 3 teams that stick out to you that you say these are locks that Arkansas needs to play every year?
Well, I'm of the opinion that I think that Arkansas and Missouri I think it's a rivalry. You look at Arkansas, and a lot of Arkansas fans will be stuck in their ways and they're stubborn. They say, "Oh, Missouri is not a rival. We don't have that tradition," or whatever. But if you look at it before they made the Golden Boot in the Arkansas LSU rivalry, that wasn't really there wasn't a lot of history there. It was just, but through the years, they've had tons of classics, close games. No matter how good LSU is, no matter how good Arkansas is, those games are close. And I think that maybe because you haven't had those instant classics and Missouri's had Arkansas's number, I don't know where the disconnect is, but I think that needs to be a rivalry game. That needs to be one of the 3. And I think that there's a lot of potential there. And I, for one, look at them as being a good rival, because it annoys me that, they're 12-4 against Arkansas since, joining the SEC, and they have that edge, and Arkansas just can't beat them. And so I think that Arkansas fans, until you can beat Missouri consistently, you don't really get a say whether it's a rivalry or not. It's obviously is, because you look at, Twitter mentions and all that good stuff. But they're definitely one that I want to see consistently of those three. I think that, I grew up with the battle for the boot with LSU. I think that that's always been a good rivalry. It's a trophy game. And then, one of either Texas or Texas A&M. I think that there's, just that Southwest Conference kind of dynamic there. Maybe not Texas since the turn of the century. There hasn't been a lot of games played there. But I think with Texas A&M, there's been a lot of good games, and
No doubt.
there's a lot of potential there. So I think that really I'd probably lean towards Missouri, LSU, and Texas A&M is probably those three. But yeah, I'm interested to see what the SEC does with this, with certain teams, and kind of how they work it out, because it's a lot of people you got to try to make happy, and a lot of things we're going to lose a couple good matchups, I feel like.
No doubt.
He's going to get a couple of ads, I'm sure.
It's going to get really dicey and interesting. Okay, Connor. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. Is there a record prediction that you're willing to put out there? Or, if not, then just give us a game or two that you think are the biggest swing games. You already mentioned Ole Miss. If you're willing to give us a number, we're going to give hard numbers here in just a second. It's going to get tough around here.
Yeah. So we actually, over at the site, being some of my coworkers at Hog Sports, we put up our staff predictions for the year. We went game by game and kind of went through the season. Man, I could see this going. I could see Arkansas, just collapsing, going 4-8. I could also see them getting hot and going 8-4 and surprising people. That's just how. I mean, you just don't know this with roster turnover year to year in this current college landscape. It's just hard, especially this year with this Arkansas team. I think that they are better than last year. They're a lot better. I just don't know if that's going to equal wins, because like y'all talked about, and y'all mentioned, that schedule is brutal. The non-conference is hard, and then you already know what the SEC slate is. So I have them going 6-6. I think that aside from that 3-game streak there, that 3-game, to open the season with Ole Miss, Memphis, and Notre Dame, I think that there's a 3-game homestand after you play at Tennessee. You get Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State. You have to get 2 of those 3. Yep. Regardless of what happens before that stretch, you've got to get 2 of those 3. I mean, you just have to on your home field. And Arkansas hasn't played great under Sam Pittman on their home field. So I think that stretch right there, if things, even if they go kind of chalky at the first half of the season, that's going to tell us a lot too there. And that's the next most important stretch, I think.
Craig?
I am at 4-8. My toss-up games are Memphis. I have that as a loss right now, and then I'm also going to put Tennessee there, and I'm going to say I'm going to put Auburn there as a question mark, because if anyone knows what the hell is going on in the Plains besides the golf game, they can let me know.
Yeah, I agree.
What I wrote.
I think that in the spring, I felt like this was going to fall apart early, and I actually had them at 2 wins, because I think I had Sam Pittman getting fired after that first stretch. And I was still questioning Taylor Green's injury that you mentioned before. After kind of following over the course of the summer, my hype for Taylor Green is growing. And my question is obviously what is around him, but I think he has the ability to put them on his back. And so I think that they get the 4 wins for sure. I'm with you that I think that, Craig, there's a couple of toss-ups in there that could get them bowling. And I have a lot of faith in Taylor Green. Mm-hmm. I just don't know who emerges as the major playmakers around him that's going to help him out, because he can't do it by himself. And that's the biggest question mark for me. I do think it helps him to have time with the offensive line, and if they can run the ball and have balance. I think, Connor, you said it beautifully. I just have some question marks there. And this is the same situation that I had with Florida last year, is how does the team composition hold up? Can they stay together if it crashes and burns early? What if there's a move made mid-season? Then what happens to the rest of the year? That's kind of where my record prediction thoughts come in with Arkansas. All right, Craig, let's move on. I see you biting your finger, but
I got one last thing to say on Arkansas. I believe in Sam Pittman, even though Connor may be like, dude, you picked him 4-8. You don't believe in Sam Pittman. No, I do believe in Sam Pittman, and I will not be shocked when I am wrong and they are 6-6 or 7-5 this year.
Yeah. So our favorite segment, Connor, is I was wrong. And so we take these we take these predictions from the spring, which really gives us a lot of opportunities to be wrong,
Yeah.
and we'll highlight them throughout the season each week because we picked every game individually. So what about Kentucky? Let's go there really quickly to the Bluegrass. We won't spend a whole lot of time here. I got them at 4-8, didn't adjust it. I think they stay there. I think that Stoops may be done for at the end of this year.
I
Craig,
got
you
2-10.
thoughts? Oh yeah,
I got
so
2-10, and Zach
real bottom
Lopata is
feeder.
not the answer.
Yeah, I think he's better than Vandegrift, but I'm not sure. But that's not a
Might be
high
better
bar.
than Vandegrift.
That's not a high bar to shoot over. Okay.
Yep. I
I made an adjustment. Yeah, Mississippi State. I made an adjustment. I actually had them at 4-8 in the spring.
Mhm.
I'm going with 3-9. I actually stole one back from them. Just going back and looking at the schedule. One of the games that at the end of the year where I originally thought, what if Arkansas falls apart, gave that one back to the Hogs. And I think that Mississippi State is the most intriguing, unknown. I don't know. There's just so much turnover, and it's been that way for the last 2 years. You really, Connor mentioned this with Arkansas's roster, but we don't know what the heck we're getting out of Starkville at all. At all. And Blake Shapen was hurt for a lot of last year, so we don't really know what we're getting out of him. Does that hold up? Do you go to Krummenhoek? Do you get the freshman? I think it's Demario Jackson. Like I don't know.
Yep.
So interesting there. Anything?
Other than
Connor,
Auburn,
have
I
thoughts
feel
on a traditional SEC West opponent? Does Mississippi State crash and burn again? Like, you have any thoughts there?
Well, I was going to say, other than Auburn, Mississippi State's the other team that I'm just like you said, I have no idea what's going on. Like Auburn and Mississippi State, I'm just so intrigued to watch how this goes because, it could really you just don't know what to expect. You don't have a good feeling about it, but you don't really know what to expect. I've had them going either 3-9 or 4-8 in most of my predictions so far. I like Jeff Lebby. I don't know about. It's just so tough in this league with that schedule too. It's tough to find 6 wins there for them.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay,
3-9, but you got to watch out for week 1. They're going to Hattiesburg, and Charles Huff brought everybody with him from Marshall. That one I think is going to tell the tale. How Mississippi State responds on the road against a team that does not like them against such.
You just can't get Toledo. You can't get Toledo again. All right, let's go to Nashville. Let's go to Nashville. I have Vandy at 5-7. As much as I love Diego Pavia, some of the jawing, which I'm on board for, I think it just puts a target on their back. And the way that they played last year has really clued everybody in. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Watching Any Given Saturday on Netflix, I really gained more respect for Clark Lee and just the way that he was present in that locker room and the way that he ran the team. But I just don't know, man. We break it down game by game. I didn't change anything. I've got them at 5-7. Craig?
I've got them late change here. I had them at 5-7. I don't believe in Tennessee. Diego Pavia will get Clark Lee bowling again. Vandy will be 6-6.
Whoo! Yikes! All right, so the change and the noted game, a win over the Vols. A little foreshadowing to our segment later when we talk Tennessee. Any thoughts coming out of Nashville, Connor, before we get out of here?
I'm like you. I love Diego Pavia after watching that. Like just the confidence. Like how can you not? Like if he's on your team, like that's a guy you rally around. But yeah, it's tough for me to find 6. But I also after watching the Netflix series, it's like how can you bet against Diego Pavia? Like he's gonna do something one game and he's gonna surprise him. So I've got him 6-6, but not super confident. But I also don't want to bet against Diego Pavia.
Yeah, I totally get that. Want to say thank you, Connor Goodson from Hog Sports. Make sure that you guys go check him out, follow along throughout the year. We love everybody from 24/7, and we want to make sure that we point people in that direction. SEC fans love SEC teams, and so if you are subscribing to any 24/7 site, then go over to Hog Sports and check out what Connor's got going on, and make sure you follow the Hogs over the course of this year. All right, we are SEC Sunday Night live on the Chief Sports Network, and we will be back in just a moment after this quick break.
When playing sports, you want a coach that will fight for you. At Hewitt Diamaduros Law Firm, we've got your back. Whether it's personal injury, insurance disputes, negligence, or wrongful death, our team delivers exceptional legal services that makes meaningful difference in the lives of the individuals and families we work for. Visit hdlawse.com hdlawsc.com. Hewitt Diamaduros, we're on your team.
Oh man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
At TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, we believe true health and peak performance start with personalized care. Whether you're an athlete, recovering from injury, or just chasing your next personal best, we're here to guide your journey. With expert coaching, hands-on therapy, and transparent cash-based pricing, you get the care you need without the insurance red tape. One client drove 100 miles just to see us and said it was worth every mile. Contact us at trifitperformance.com or 803-353-5619. TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, where recovery meets results.
Yo, what's up?
Baby, let's go!
This is SEC Sunday Night, part of the Chief Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to SEC Sunday Night live on the Chief Sports Network every Sunday night at 8 p.m. It is time for our next grouping of teams. We should have Maggie Johnson here with us on the TriFit Performance guest line. First of all, we want to say hello. What's up, Maggie? How's it going?
Hey, Maggie.
Good. It's I'm just excited it's week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot to talk about.
So much, yeah.
Big expectations, I feel like, for every SEC team at this point in the year. It's everybody's got that glow and that twinkle in their eye, and they have high hopes. Even Jerry over here in our chat, big hopes for Arkansas. Wanted to pay us a compliment and let us know that we are looking wonderful and young out here today. And so thank you, Jerry, for
42, baby. I love it. And I kid you not, this weekend, my wife looked at me and my hair and said, "My gosh, you're getting a lot of gray hair." Ladies and gentlemen, that's why I wear a hat. That is why I wear a hat, and I do not.
I just have a lot of hats in the background of mine. I have you can't even see. No, it's not there anymore.
Yeah, we love that. I'm sure there's somewhere an SEC pretty hat around there somewhere as well.
Yeah, it is an SEC. It was an SEC pretty hat, but I think I wore it. I wore it last week. So.
Well, shout out to Joy. We'll tease that a little bit as she'll be with us in the coming weeks as the season gets going. Go ahead, Craig. What you got?
Yeah, I had a quick question for Maggie. Did Brett give you any advice before coming on the podcast? We had Brett Sarver, one of the biggest Mizzou fans, on last year. I didn't know if he was giving you any advice.
No, I don't think I told him I was coming on, but now I feel bad not telling him, and he'll probably see it and be like, "I didn't know you were going on there." But yeah, he's an icon, right? He's a Mizzou icon.
He is one of the most passionate. And no offense to any other Mizzou fan, but he is not afraid to poke anybody in.
I fully expect after we do these record predictions in a minute for him to be in our comments. All right, or at least my mentions on Twitter. Yes. All right, so let's start with some questions about Missouri, Maggie, as we get in. If you don't know Maggie Johnson, co-host of Mizzou, That's Who on the KC Sports Network. Excited to have you with us. The first question that I really want to get to is at the quarterback position. You have a transfer quarterback coming in. Not a lot of tape coming out of Penn State. And so what are the expectations at that position? I think if I sit back and look at Missouri, I expect them to run the ball. You know, you got two of the leading rushers in the SEC over the past few years. And so the question is really just how do we replace a legend in Missouri at quarterback?
So here's kind of the thing with Brady Cook, and I love Brady Cook. I'm a Brady Cook truther. I love his family. Like, I know them. he was never, I don't believe he was ever meant to be the starting quarterback at the University of Missouri. I think that it was a timing thing, and he just kind of got lucky that the time between Connor Bazelak that didn't work out and us not getting, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the story, but we were supposed to get Jaden Daniels, and then something weird kind of came up with a logistical issue, and he kind of, yeah, it's a long story with that, but that would have really changed our 2023 season, I believe. But I don't think he was ever meant to be that. But the reason we were so successful with Brady Cook is because he just never quit. Like the amount of heart that kid has. I mean,
Absolutely.
you watch those games that we played last year. So in 2022, we lost, I think, 4 or 5 games by less than a possession, right? Then you go into 2023 and you're on the opposite side of that. You're bringing your guys back. Same thing in 2024, where we should have been winning those games, or like we did win those games, but they were like 1 possession games. And you saw like what Brady Cook did in that Auburn game, all of these things. You don't need to have a Heisman winning quarterback to be the quarterback at the University of Missouri to succeed. Mm-hmm. It's literally all about having those pieces around him and having that chemistry. Last year, I would say the chemistry was lacking a little bit. You saw a lot of overthrown balls by Brady, and that's kind of why Luther Burden's numbers went down. But that's the thing I really like about Bo is I think he's committed to his craft. I think he is always trying to get better. He's always trying to build those connections. Penn State, Drinkwitz, everybody just raves about the type of person, the type of player that he is. So if he becomes the starting quarterback of the University of Missouri, I really think that he could be somebody similar to a Brady Cook. Not amazing numbers, but good numbers.
As a South Carolina fan, I think that the comparison of Brady Cook to Connor Shaw back in the day is kind of an accurate one in terms of they just gut it out, man, and they're just winners. And at the end of the day, you look up and go, how many games has he won? How long has this guy been here? This is crazy. So it is difficult to – Connor Shaw does need a statue. It's difficult to replace somebody like that, even if it is like you said. Like, yeah, there were times when around the rest of the league, you point out that Brady Cook got booed when he was on the field. So it's not that you can give us your reaction, but I think that everybody understood your point just there, that he wasn't really ever supposed to be that guy. He just continued to gut it out. So it's difficult to replace no matter who you put in that seat. Craig, go ahead. I see you chomping at the bit.
No, I am. So, Gary Pinkel, I think, obviously is the GOAT for Mizzou football. But what Drink has done, I think, there was that slow start, but over the last 3 years, I mean, he's knocking in double digits. He knocked off Ohio State. Can you talk a little bit about Drink? What has he done to that fan base? How has he changed that? Brett always gets mad at me because I always put that Drink's going to go to Auburn or he's going to go to Florida. But to me, he's infected that place, and I'd love to hear you can contrast with what happened before that. What Drink has done to Mizzou.
Well, Drinkwitz, he runs the place, right? So I mean, you can say everything you want about Laird Beach, who's our athletic director. But the reason Laird Beach is our athletic director probably plays a role a little bit with the relationship between Eli Drinkwitz and the last AD. I'm not saying 100%, but I'm going to definitely say that it likely played a little bit of a role. I don't know why Drink would want or need to go anywhere else.
He just got paid.
He just got paid. Like I said, he runs that office. He gets everything that he wants, and he's doing it successfully. And then he doesn't have to leave and go to a fan base and bless the SEC fan bases. I'm not trying to talk crap on them, but the expectations for a team that we've seen win a national championship within the last 15 years is a little bit higher than what it is at Missouri, right? I've seen my team bounce all over the place. I think we had 1 4-win season, but for the rest of that, we've kind of just hung out in the middle. I know people will joke about Mizzou or whatever they want to say, but the point was to bring somebody in that could bring other winners in. And players like Drink. They like his attitude. They like the young silliness that he brings. That's fun to them. as long as the players like drink, I like drink.
I think that the argument that you're making there sounds very similar to the argument that we made about Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Like, you can say people are going to come after you, but you kind of got it made. Like, where are you going? Let's look at the schedule a little bit, because that's where we're going tonight. First of all, you get to kick off early, which we like. You get a little extra exposure, get a little game there where there's not a whole lot of other action going on. But the schedule, if you stay at home for the first, 17 weeks of the season, and then at some point they get on a bus or a plane and go somewhere else. But
I just want to say though, look at schedules like Florida barely leaves the state of Florida. North Carolina barely leaves the state of North Carolina.
Well, that's fair. If you could leave the state of Missouri, or if you stay in the state of Missouri, you pretty much have to play at Mizzou, because like, who else is out there? But
hey, the Fighting Missouri State Bears are now in
the Fighting Bobby Petrino Missouri State Bears.
All right, look. So let's just call it like it is. It's a favorable schedule.
Yeah.
Which games do you think are the trickiest, though, if you're looking over the course of it? I mean, Craig and I have picked them all, so you tell us what sticks out.
Well, I would be crazy not to say Oklahoma, and I know Mizzou fans will come for me, but they heard me say this in my podcast last week, so it's like it's already out there. I think that that's a tricky game. First off, it's closer to the end of the season, but also Oklahoma has owned Missouri for however many years, post joining the SEC. And losing to Mizzou to their third string quarterback is a bad look for the Oklahoma Sooners. Like, it is a bad look. Venables is sitting on the hottest of hot seats right now. I think that that's a hard type of game, because it's a revenge game in their place, which I couldn't even tell you the last time that we won in Oklahoma. So I think that one for me is, I've chalked that one up. I counted it as a loss right now. Obviously, we don't know how Mateer is going to be. We don't know how Jaden Ott are going to be. Like, those are big questions. But for right now, that's one of my trickiest ones. And then obviously, I've told my podcast this a million times. I'm never going to pick Mizzou to beat Alabama until Mizzou beats Alabama.
Yeah, that's fair.
Ever.
That's fair. So do you have a record prediction that you want to go with? Is it fair to ask you for that?
I did. I predicted us on our podcast last week or the week before at a 9-3. I think it could be 8-4. I think that other one that I'm kind of questioning myself on is maybe that Auburn game, because right now I have us winning at Auburn. But kind of like Connor said, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they have a great wide receivers, but are we going to get Jackson Arnold 2024? Are we going to get 5-star elite prospect Jackson Arnold? Like, I don't know what we're going to get. They do return a lot on defense, so I think their defense could maybe keep them in some games. I think it kept them in a few last year, but yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to get. I just know it's scary going into Jordan-Hare.
Yeah, it definitely is. You ready for the cold water? Craig, you want to go first? Or you want me to take it?
I mean, I already know. I've seen this stuff like all over Twitter. Like, I already know they're bad. So
6-6, but I feel like but I also feel like 8-4. Like, right? Like, so like I've got Arkansas, Auburn. Yeah, I've got those as toss-ups. I also do not believe in Brett Venables and Oklahoma, even though they somehow beat Alabama last year. So I think to me that's another one could be tossed.
Well, we're going there. We're going there next to Oklahoma. So you save that talk for just a second. But
okay.
I also have them at 6-6. The thing that for me is that we're both pretty low in Oklahoma, and we're going to go there in just a second. But as I'm looking at Missouri's schedule, let me get it just pulled up here in front of me.
This is good.
We're both high. We're both high on Auburn. That was the game that I was going to go to, and I don't want to spoil it, but Craig and I both have some belief there, even though he can't stand Hugh Freeze and thinks the wheels are coming off. His record prediction doesn't reflect that. And so, again, the big thing for me here is that you got to replace Brady Cook. And if they prove me wrong, they prove me wrong. It'll be a great I was wrong segment. But I'm going to put them at 6-6. All right, let's go to Norman. And sorry, Maggie, go ahead. You got a closing statement about the Tigers?
I was just going to say, my only thing is that people have to keep in mind, it's so easy to look at a team and be like, oh, they lost Brady Cook, Luther Burden, Theo Weiss. But like we had the number 7 transfer portal class. Like, don't forget that we have guys coming in just as much as we lost guys. We had guys coming in, and we have good guys coming in. I mean, guys like Damon Wilson that came from Georgia, who ESPN analyst Matt Miller thinks is going to be like our best defensive player and going to be high up there on the defensive side in the draft. I think we got some guys. So I just don't want people to think that we didn't replace anybody, because we got some good guys coming in.
Right. And I think that, it's always there's definitely money flowing in Como, and so you're able to really make a pull. I think it's just a show me kind of deal. So Norman, speaking of showing me, I have the Sooners at 5-7. I don't think they're bowling. I am not a John Mateer truther. I don't think this is going to work. I think that the defense is going to be good, but my question is on the offensive side of the ball. The only reason that I would hedge this bet is because of Jaden Ott. Okay. And I think that he may give enough balance, but the Heisman hype from Mateer is something that I absolutely have to see. We're coming out of Wazoo, and I get it. Cam Ward just did it, but this is not Miami, and this is not the ACC. This is Oklahoma, and this is the SEC, where the schedule is absolutely brutal. So Venables is looking for a DC position at the end of the year, and the Sooners are coach shopping. Go ahead, Craig.
Nebraska will be 6-6. I mean, Oklahoma will be 6-6.
Yeah, same difference, right?
Wow.
Same difference.
Yeah, we've slid that far. All right, let's jump really quick to Gainesville, the future home of Eli Drinkwitz's head coaching seat. I've got the Gators at 7-5. I didn't make any changes. This schedule is awful. And again, I know I referenced Any Given Saturday a few minutes ago, and I talked about this last week. My biggest I was wrong last year was I had Florida absolutely imploding, and I thought they would quit on Napier mid-year, and I thought the Lagway came in and galvanized them. But after seeing the inside of the locker room, I think it was Billy Napier that galvanized them and not DJ Lagway. What? Like, I have 2 I was wrongs in the same statement, but I just don't know that they can get over it. I don't know that they can get over it. Yeah, it's okay. We all make mistakes, Craig. I'm going 7-5. What you got?
Speaking of mistakes, Billy should have went in the transfer portal and got a backup quarterback, because DJ Lagway will not be healthy this year, and the Gators will be at best 6-6. If Lagway doesn't come back, it could be even worse.
China Doll quarterback. Any thoughts, Maggie, on Gainesville?
I got them at 7-5. I agree. I just don't know how they're going to respond after, obviously, they kind of have 2 cupcakes, and then they have at LSU and at Miami. I think how they respond after having those tough games is going to say a lot.
Can we call Miami a tough game?
I think we can.
I mean,
I think we can, because I think Carson's going to cook.
Yeah, and I mean, regardless, it's a rivalry game, and I don't. All bets are off in a rivalry game.
Yeah, you talk about that, and we had this last week, so I won't spend a lot of time here. But LSU, Miami, and then you get a bye week, and then you come back for Texas and at Texas A&M. It's going to be great, guys. They're going to be just wrong. They're going to be just fine. All right, here we go. We spoiled it already. I have Auburn at 9-3. Okay, I have some belief here when we stack them up one against the next, matchup to matchup, position group to position group. This makes me believe in Jackson Arnold. And part of me is like, dude, I don't think he got a fair shake last year. He had a JV offensive line. He had middle school wide receivers. There was nobody out there to play with him.
Don't rip on middle school wide receivers.
And so I think that for all of Hugh Freeze's flaws, I think he gets Jackson Arnold ready to go. And the rest of the team's got a heck of a lot of talent. 9-3 for Auburn this year. Craig, come on in with the War Eagle hate, right? You can't stand. You think it's going to fall apart? We're already replacing him.
12 quarterbacks, 15 guys play calling this year, and yet
you have them at.
I was wrong. 9-3.
Oh, look at that! Look at that. We agree. How about that, Craig? I love that from you. 9-3.
My friend Chris Marler told me that they're going to be better than what they were.
What does that mean? Does that mean 6 wins? I just like.
I still have them at 7-5. I just don't know if they have. I'm not a Jackson Arnold believer, but I was in the stands for that Mizzou Oklahoma game and watched him absolutely, literally fumble the ball. So it's hard for me to believe that he's going to have that much of a turnaround just based on where he's going. It was bad. He was the reason that team lost that game.
Wait, what did you say? Did you say 7-5?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That can happen for sure.
Yeah, I don't get it. I feel like I'm going to be wrong. I do have to ask you a question though, Maggie. We didn't ask you. So when the SEC goes to their 3 rivals, who are Mizzou's 3 rivals?
So, okay, I liked what Connor said earlier. I'm super glad he said Missouri because I totally agree that Arkansas and Missouri should play, and I don't know why anybody believes that they wouldn't play each other. I think that Oklahoma's basically a lock. I think that they've done enough in the past 2 years just chirping at each other that that's probably going to happen. My third, if I'm going to have a preference, it's going to be South Carolina, and it's because those games are amazing, and anybody who watches if you love football, you love the Mayor's Cup games. They're so much fun. Again, like I said, trophy game. So I think
I think they'll keep it for that too.
I think that those are the 3 most fun and best games for Missouri.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you there, and I think that the Mayor's Cup stays because of the trophy. Maggie Johnson from Mizzou, that's who. Thanks a lot for being with us. This is a ton of fun. We'll have you back on when we get some major Missouri matchups. Hey, maybe once they get out of the state, it'll be time to have you back on and see where they stand.
Well, let's see. That's Auburn, October 18th. So
we'll send you a Christmas gift, and then the next week we'll have you on to talk about Missouri getting outside the state. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Maggie. We'll be back in just a second after another quick break with 5-star offensive lineman Darius Gray.
At TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, we believe true health and peak performance start with personalized care. Whether you're an athlete recovering from injury or just chasing your next personal best, we're here to guide your journey. With expert coaching, hands-on therapy, and transparent cash-based pricing, you get the care you need without the insurance red tape. One client drove 100 miles just to see us and said it was worth every mile. Contact us at trifitperformance.com or 803-353-5619. TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, where recovery meets results.
When playing sports, you want a coach that will fight for you. At Hewitt Diamaduros Law Firm, we've got your back. Whether it's personal injury, insurance disputes, negligence, or wrongful death, our team delivers exceptional legal services that makes meaningful difference in the lives of the individuals and families we work for. Visit hdlawse.com. hdlawse.com. Hewitt Diamaduros, we're on your team.
This is SEC Sunday night on the Chiefs Sports Network.
Welcome back to SEC Sunday Night here live on the Chief Sports Network every Sunday night for you. We want to make sure that you're downloading the Chief Sports app so that you have access to not only this show, but you have access to shows like College Football Forever with JC Sherbert and Mike Morgan, to Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show, and the show Tailgate Talks with Stephen Garcia and Pat DeMarco. We got the Late Night Gamecock show. We got Rooster Rant coming up. So many things. You got high school sports are ready and rolling. Darius is ready to play. And we have all of these South Carolina teams that are available to you on the scoreboard. But before we say anything else, let's get here because we know so many people are tuned in tonight, and you guys want to be here for this very reason. 5-star offensive lineman Darius Gray here with us. What's going on, Darius? How are we feeling tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me. How are you all?
Good.
We're doing great. It's been a fun night. We are going through all 16 SEC teams and kind of breaking it down. But we want to talk to you about what's going on in Columbia and what really drew you to be a Gamecock, and what makes you want to put on the garnet and black. I'll tell you just as we jump in here that we cover the whole league, but I'm a third generation South Carolina season ticket holder. I proposed on top of Williams-Brice Stadium, so I've spent my time in Columbia. So you tell us a little bit about what you love about South Carolina.
Yeah, so I kind of started off with 3 non-negotiables, and that was family atmosphere, player development, and sports media. And that's kind of how I got down to my final five. And, the last five, it was very hard to separate. But, the very last thing that for me and my family that stood out the most were two things, really. It was having a coach like Coach Beamer, and then he got guys like Coach Teasley, Coach Shula, and, the fan base. I think those two were the main reason why I decided South Carolina at the end.
Tell me a little bit about the sports media choice there. I want to hear about it. Are you going to take our job over here on the podcast on Sunday nights?
Hey, if I get a chance to, and I'm honored, I would love to work with you all, not take y'all job. I don't think I'm on y'all level yet, but definitely something similar to this right here.
Well, look, no doubt you get down to Columbia next year, and we'll give you a featured spot every week if you want it. The seat is reserved whenever you want to come on and talk about what's going on. And if nothing else, we'll definitely stay in touch as you are here and getting ready to play next year. Talk to me a little bit about the atmosphere. You talk about the atmosphere in any official visits and games that you were able to attend. If you can note something that stood out to you that maybe is a little different about Columbia or Williams-Brice Stadium that showed you something that stood out against the other schools in your top five.
Yeah, what I think the most for me was, I had the chance and I was very blessed to, have a little contact with South Carolina pretty early in my process. So about 8th grade summer. And that was Coach Beamer's first year there. And so to see them go from a 2-win team to a 5, 6, 7-win team, just like that, I mean, the fans was always very supportive. And to have a fan base like that that's cheering on a 2-win team, I mean, like, come on. Like, nobody wants to have a 2-win team. Like, I'm a Saints fan, and we're struggling, but I'm still over here cheering. But, to have that, a part of you, and I know, South Carolina's going to get it rolling. They're going to start winning, and the fan base is going to go crazy. So it's a different atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there through some ups and downs, and it's definitely a different atmosphere no matter what it looks like. You mentioned, when it's been down, you still have a full stadium and people showing up and cheering for the Gamecocks. It's just in this state, it's who we are and it's what we do. And I think that you're going to experience that not only on a game day atmosphere, but as you get down here to school, that you're going to be able to see that on a day-to-day basis as you're interacting with people as well. So you talk about how you think that the Gamecocks are going to get it going. We're looking at the season this year. And so somebody who gets to kind of sit back still and observe a little bit, do you have any thoughts about where South Carolina is headed in 2025?
Hey, I think it's going to go as far as it could possibly go. I have full belief that South Carolina could be a team that's playing in, late January and having a chance to play for that title.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're right there on the edge of that, and we're going to get into that here in just a minute. The last thing really that I want to hear from you is in this recruiting process, we talk about the SEC, right? When we're going to look at that, and you had 3 SEC teams with LSU, Tennessee, South Carolina in your top 5, but you had some really prominent programs with Ohio State and Clemson who have been in national championships in the past few years as well. Obviously, Ohio State just did it. It seems like a little bit since Clemson got it done, but it really hasn't been that long, and it's still a national power there in the upstate of South Carolina. So how did the SEC schools that you were able to be a part of and visit and elevate to that top 5? Where do those schools stack up against other schools that you saw in different Power 4 conferences?
Yeah, I mean, like all conferences, to be honest, are one of the best of the best. Like you go to Clemson, Ohio State, no matter what the conference is, you're gonna have some of the best athletes coming from wherever they came from. And I think really the biggest change for me between SEC and Big Ten or ACC was just kind of the campus. I think campus were much bigger. It was just a bigger atmosphere, and you had a lot more people there. And I think that was really the biggest change between SEC and any other conference.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that we're excited to see you get going down here for the Gamecocks. It looks like this year, you're going to have potentially a true freshman starting there in the on the offensive line. I'm obviously right here in the upstate of South Carolina, so I'm familiar with Shed and what he's been able to do. That's Shed Surratt for anybody who is listening. And so, and had Josiah Thompson starting last year as a true freshman. And so I know that you probably have big expectations about coming in and getting going early. We want to wish you good luck in everything that you're doing this year. If you want to hang around for us for just a minute, we're going to work through some of these schedule predictions and feel free to chime in. We'll let you work on your sports media chops just a little bit as we get into it here. Okay. So let's start with the Gamecocks. Let's start with the Gamecocks. Craig, I'll start because I feel like we're going to land in the same place, to be honest. So Darius, the way that we've been doing it is we made predictions in the spring during spring ball. We do this every year, and then we see how true those predictions can be because that's pretty far back to be kind of tabbing things. I had my prediction for South Carolina at 10-2 in the spring. I agree with Darius. I think that they're right on the edge there of making it into the college football playoff. As we finish breaking down the teams in the league here, you'll see that 10-2 record for South Carolina is not something that gets them to Atlanta based on my other predictions, but does get them into that top tier of teams in the SEC that cracks it in. I made a slight adjustment with spoiler here with the LSU game because at night in Baton Rouge, I think it could be a tricky environment, and so I'm hedging my bets. I think that if I take my garnet glasses off, I'm getting a little nervous about picking them at 10-2, and so I dropped it back just slightly to 9-3. But I still have a lot of confidence that Lenora Sellers leads this team with a lot of new names and new faces, both on the offensive side of the ball and the playmakers, and on the defensive side of the ball with 5 guys that left in the NFL draft last year. So I think they got a really good shot. I agree. Craig, do you got anything on the Gamecocks before we move to some other teams here?
I'm 9-3, and the big one that I'm looking at is that one Stephen Garcia, good friend of the Chief Sports Network, will know that home game against Bama. I've got that right now as a one for the Gamecocks. That should be an interesting one. That one should be electric.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think that one's. I think that's a win as well. I think that South Carolina is not going to be scared of Alabama at all after what happened in Tuscaloosa last year. Mm-mm. And I was there in 2010 when Stephen Garcia and Alshon Jeffrey and Marcus Lattimore slayed the number 1 giant Crimson Tide.
He was selling diapers in 2010. Don't let him fool you.
Yeah, that's not true. That's not true. We did have someone in our chat earlier, Darius, that said that we were too young and we didn't know anything about ball. So I wonder what he would think about you being on here and commenting. But I think he left, so it's fine. Good riddance. All right, let's go to Tennessee, another team that was in your top 5, Darius. Any expectations for the Vols this year? I know you have high expectations for South Carolina, but as you've been, I'm sure, in close contact with all of these schools, do you have any thoughts about what's happening in Knoxville?
Yeah, I think everything in Knoxville is going great. Without a doubt, what Coach Heupel got, and especially that O-line, with David there and Nick Moore and all those guys, they're definitely selling O-line. But I think they're gonna have a good year, without a doubt. I think that this is the year where they make it past the first round, and I think they're gonna have a great year for sure.
I've got Lee Corso. Not so fast, my friend.
You got your pencil out, Craig?
I've got my pencil out right here.
I've got a
Sorry, Darius. If we take a look at it, I originally had them at 8-4. This is one I've revised back to 6-6. I look at the turmoil. Look at what happened in Columbus to start the year. The stuff with Nico heading to Westwood. I think there's a little bit of turmoil there. And I think there's going to be a challenge. The schedule sets up very well for the Vols, but I think that there's just too much turmoil there where I think they need a little something to stabilize. So I think one of those young quarterbacks is going to have to kind of step in for Aguilar.
I went the opposite direction, but I also have them missing the playoff. I in spring had them at 7-5, but remember in the spring we had a lot more quarterback questions than we do now. So I've moved them up to 8-4 because here's the game that I told you guys that intern Lucas and I will be in the bins next weekend for both games, the Tennessee game and the South Carolina game. I had them losing originally that Syracuse game. I've since backed off of that pick. I'm getting a little scared of that one because is it still 14.5? I should know this as the host of the show, but
13.5. 13.5 right now.
Thank you. You're the numbers guy. But I moved my pick to 8-4 because I think that they beat Syracuse in the opener next weekend, and we can only hope and pray that happens because we don't need a lot of SEC upsets. Okay, speaking of SEC teams playing out of conference in week 1, let's talk about LSU. Okay, there's no secret around here.
Here we go, Darius.
No secret around here that I am a strong believer in LSU in 2025. So again, Darius, you have them in your. You had them in your top 5. We're definitely not swaying you in any other direction. Go Gamecocks. We want to make sure that we get you to Columbia.
Yeah, no doubt.
But any thoughts on what Brian Kelly and the Tigers are going to do this year? You got Tennessee and South Carolina with high expectations. We got LSU up there too.
Oh yeah, we got LSU. I think what LSU did last year was a bad year, and like for any other school, really, that's not even a bad year, you know. So they're coming in this year like we got to win, like we got to do everything we can to win. And with the transfer portal they had, I think they're gonna have a pretty solid year. Without a doubt, if they don't make the playoffs, I think they will. Without a doubt, it would be very shocking if they are not close to making the playoffs this year.
Craig, you want to kick us off with the Tigers?
The Tigers will be in the playoff, but they will be 9-3. So look for them to be in that 8-9 game, maybe hosting a game at Tiger Stadium. Sorry, Michael Lynn. I see your comment there in the chat. They will lose to Clemson. They will lose at Ole Miss, and they will lose at Alabama.
Yeah, I'm a little scared about that Clemson game, to be honest. But I'm going to stand on business because I said it already one time, and
I'm on your love for Nuss.
I can't back down. Okay, I'm going 11-1 for LSU this year. I picked LSU to win the SEC, and so I got to stick with it. I think that they're going to make a big run this year. The transfer portal was insane. We believe in Blake Baker now that he's got some better personnel in his hands. Again, huge matchup between Garrett Nussmeier and Lenora Sellers at Baton Rouge at night there on October 11th, and so we're excited about that one, and we'll see what happens between the Gamecocks and the Tigers there. It could be a big swing game for both teams in terms of where they land in the college football playoff. But again, I just have a lot of belief there, and I think that LSU ends up right here in Mercedes-Benz Stadium and at the end of the year playing for the SEC championship. All right. Here's an easy one for us, Craig. Here's an easy one for us. Texas A&M. Texas A&M on a routine basis is
8-5.
Can we say it together?
8-5.
Yeah. So we both have them at 8-4, and so you're going to throw it in there that they're going to lose a bowl game as well.
Yes, they will. Yep.
Okay, I'm with you.
8-5.
Yep. Okay, we don't need to say much more about that. I think we pretty much got it. Pretty much got it locked down. No, we don't need any. We don't need any of your yell-leading Texas A&M antics over here.
Hang on, I got one little Texas A&M for you. So, high school fight song was "Hullabaloo Connect Connect" based on Texas A&M's fight song. So there you go.
Well, that's what messed you up. That's what happened to you. All right, now we know.
Is that what it is? It's because they not therapy bills.
Hey, Darius, all you got to do is give us a. This is SEC Sunday Night on the Chief Sports Network, and we'll be right back after the break. You want to get us out of here?
This is SEC Sports Network One, Chiefs, whatever the best podcast out here. We'll be right back on the break.
Yeah, we'll see you guys in just a minute with David Johnson from Rebels 247. Thanks a lot to Darius Gray, and welcome home.
When playing sports, you want a coach that will fight for you. At Hewitt Diamaduros Law Firm, we've got your back. Whether it's personal injury, insurance disputes, negligence, or wrongful death, our team delivers exceptional legal services that makes meaningful difference in the lives of the individuals and families we work for. Visit hdlawsc.com. hdlawsc.com. Hewitt Diamaduros, we're on your team.
Oh, man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
At TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, we believe true health and peak performance start with personalized care. Whether you're an athlete, recovering from injury, or just chasing your next personal best, we're here to guide your journey. With expert coaching, hands-on therapy, and transparent cash-based pricing, you get the care you need without the insurance red tape. One client drove 100 miles just to see us and said it was worth every mile. Contact us at trifitperformance.com or 803-353-5619. TriFit Physical Therapy and Performance, where recovery meets results.
Yo, what's up?
Baby, let's go!
This is SEC Sunday Night on the Chief Sports Network.
Welcome back to SEC Sunday Night Live on the Chief Sports Network. Thanks again to five-star offensive lineman Darius Gray for coming out and hanging out with us after committing to South Carolina just a couple of days ago. I want to welcome now David Johnson from Rebels 247 in here. We're excited. And, you know, I got to be honest, David. I think that this is probably the segment I've been looking forward to the most because we have some high expectations for Ole Miss, and we're going to get to record predictions in just a minute. But we're just really excited to talk to you and kind of get a breakdown of what we're looking at from this roster and some expectations coming out of Oxford. And also, we have this other guy in here, Casey. Where did he go? I'm not really sure. He's going to help us.
I thought that's why you were most excited about this segment, because Casey was going to be on.
We're going to talk about the message boards in just a minute, and he's here to troll. And so we'll go ahead and leave him muted, Lucas. We'll talk to him in just a minute. Just let him look pretty for a minute. SEC pretty, I must say. All right, David, welcome on the Tri-Fit Performance guest line. Thanks a lot for being here with us. What is going on, and how are things looking over in Oxford?
Yeah, well, you know, first of all, thanks for having me on, guys. And this is an Ole Miss team. You know, we're kind of getting used to the roster turnover here. There's a lot of roster churn when it comes to Lane Kiffin and his Ole Miss football team. You know, you start off talking about the guys who are gone. Jackson Dart gone to the NFL. You know, all that defensive front, for the most part, gone to the NFL. Those are the question marks that, you know, you've got with this team entering the year. I mean, I think this team could definitely be a playoff contender, but I also think this is a team that, you know, if you mess around and you lose to Kentucky again this year, you get a couple of those inexplicable losses, you could be looking at 7-5 or 8-4. Mm-hmm. So, you know, a lot's going to happen. A lot depends on, you know, how well Austin Simmons drives this offense. We all know he's a brilliant prospect, but you know, this is the first year the keys to the car belong to him. You know, so you're looking at the Rebels in preseason practice, and to be honest with you, the defense, and it's always like this, the defense always looks ahead of the offense, particularly in the early goings. But we're less than a week away from kickoff now. And you worry as to whether or not what you see on that defense is fool's gold right now. You know, that, you know, have you really replaced all those guys that led the SEC in sacks last year that are on NFL rosters right now? And again, you've got youth on the offensive side of the ball at quarterback. You've got youth up front on the defense too, because Ole Miss is going to rely heavily on Cam Franklin, Will Eccles, both of those young guys at the defensive tackle and defensive end spots. And they're going to have to grow up fast. And September is not going to be an easy month. While they open up with Georgia State, they've then got back-to-back SEC games, home against Arkansas, at Kentucky, and then John Sumrall and a Tulane program that does nothing but win comes back to Oxford. So, you know, that's where things stand if you ask me right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And then you get LSU right after that Tulane game, so you got to look out for that. It's a great matchup last year. And, you know, we just marveled at it over and over again, the way that it ended and how that all shook out. But, you know, I agree with you that there's question marks on the defensive front end with Austin Simmons. We've talked about Austin Simmons a lot here because we really believe in him. I'm a huge believer in what he's going to be able to do. We just need to see the clutch gene a little bit. Can he do it with the lights come on? But I think the defense is the biggest question that a lot of people have because so many of those pieces are gone. And a Lane Kiffin offense is typically going to be productive. Like even if it turns out to be a less than average year for them, less than average for Lane Kiffin is still pretty good on the offensive side of the ball. So what can you tell us about the defense in terms of what they did to replace some of those guys? Kiffin is the portal king. I mean, they typically go and grab as many players as they can. So are there guys coming in on the defensive side of the ball that give you hope that this defense resembles what it looked like last year?
You know, I think we'd be foolish to think that as good of a coordinator and recruiter as Pete Golding is, that he has rebuilt that defense to look exactly like it did last year. I mentioned, and they've looked good in preseason practice, but I mentioned, you worry if it's not fool's gold, because Ole Miss has severe issues on their offensive line right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you bring in a JUCO kid for depth a week and a half before the season opener, that's not good. That's not good for a Power 4 program to have to do. Ole Miss did exactly that last week. I don't know. We're not going to really know. We'll start to get a feeling when they play Arkansas, when they play Kentucky, when they play Tulane. We'll know for dang sure when they play LSU. But, this is a team, I think you spit in the wind and cross your fingers and hope for the best. There are a lot of issues that could develop. There are a lot of good things that could happen. So, we're kind of in the wait and see mode.
And I think that's the interesting part, because there's expectation now in Oxford. That's one thing that Lane Kiffin has really brought about. He's got double-digit wins. And that's what I think made last year hurt a little bit, right? You had the Kentucky loss that was like, you're still wondering what happened. Florida, didn't make sense. LSU, you gave it away in the last play of the game. Kiffin has transformed this program. Is he got it at basically at the peak of where that's at, or does he have room to make this into a perennial playoff contender?
No, yeah, he's definitely got room to still grow this program. But they've had 10 wins or more 3 of the last 4 years.
Right.
It was the late 50s, early 60s the last time that happened. I'd venture to say none of us were even born. Even me, and I'm probably the oldest guy here. But yeah, he's just made Ole Miss alive. He's made Oxford alive. Guys, it's unbelievable how much it costs to live in Oxford, Mississippi now. Real estate is out the roof. There are new parts of town going up. I've lived here for 15 years that didn't exist when I moved over here. This year's freshman class, 1,500 more than last year, right at 10,000 kids in the freshman class. When I was in high school, Ole Miss had about 13,000 students. If this pace keeps up, they're going to have 40,000 students here in 3 or 4 years. Yep. It's unbelievable what the Lane Kiffin effect has done to this little bitty town in North Mississippi.
I love that.
We've asked everybody this question with the 9-game SEC schedule being revealed that we're going that way. And there's going to be 3 permanent opponents. Nice shirt, Casey. Wow, way to bring the party. He's a Clemson fan, so we just have to excuse him.
Well, he's a Mississippi State fan tonight, I see.
Yeah. And maybe he brought that in for you. Maybe he got the agenda. Go ahead. I see you're unmuted.
No, it's family. My stepson goes to school there, so I didn't know it.
Believe it or not, Casey. Believe it or not, Mississippi State was the first school to offer my son a scholarship when he was 14 years old. And so we quit hating State so bad then. Of course, he went on to play for Ole Miss. But, State was number one. And we went to a lot of football games down there.
And you still got your hearing?
I do, yeah. Clang-a-ling-a-ling, man. I hate those bells.
He knew if he wanted dinner in a place to stay, he knew where to go. He knew he wasn't going to Stark Vegas.
So, David, tell us if there's 3 permanent opponents for Ole Miss in the SEC, which 3 teams stick out to you as the obvious choices?
Well, first will be Casey there with his Mississippi State shirt on. Then it's got to be LSU. Everybody knows Ole Miss and State are a rival. Everybody my age can kind of remember Ole Miss LSU really being heated. It's heated back up nowadays. So I think those are 2 for sure. If I had to pull a third one out of the hat, I'd probably say Vanderbilt, most likely, just because I'd love to say Arkansas, but they're going to have Texas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. And I think I'm right about that. So I would think Ole Miss is going to get Mississippi State. They're going to get LSU, and they're going to get Vanderbilt. That'd be my
Auburn?
3. No, I don't
Auburn.
think.
I thought Lane and Hugh were like this. They're like buddies.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If Auburn goes 4-8 this year, Hugh's going to be coaching at Furman or somewhere next year.
He'll be an analyst for Lane.
yeah, probably. You're right. Yeah.
I don't know. He might not be allowed back in Oxford though, so who knows?
David, do you have is it fair to ask you for a record prediction? If not, you can give us a key matchup that you're looking at. That's a swing game for the Rebels. Craig and I are teed up with some pretty hot predictions for the Rebels here in just a second.
Let me say it like this. I think the ceiling for this team is 10-2 and getting in the college football playoffs. But I think the floor is 7-5. And it's more difficult here than it is everywhere else because Lane has been throwing these new rosters together really since he's been here. So, you've got a lot of guys you haven't seen empirical evidence on and things like that. But yeah, 10-2, I think, is the ceiling. But I do think 7-5 could be the floor because guess what? Everybody's got money now to go and get players, including Mississippi State. So it's.
Did anyone tell Jeff Levy that?
Oh yeah, I think you're going to see a remarkable improvement by State this year. I think they win 3 games. They go 3-9.
There you go.
And in the year, of course, on an 8-game SEC losing streak. Those are my picks.
Do they beat their MAC opponent though?
They have a tough one next Saturday.
Yeah,
they play in-state rival Southern Miss, and I got to tell you, I'm watching that game. 11 o'clock Central kickoff. Go Golden Eagles.
Where's that Larry guy at that said we didn't know what the heck we were talking about? David just backed us up. We were talking about this at the start of the show. Thank you, Dave. You can come on the show anytime.
Was that his name? Was his name? I forgot what his name was. Larry
or Jerry. He's gone.
Okay. Well, as the great Michael Jordan once said, the ceiling is the roof, and Craig and I are here to raise it for you, David, because we both have Ole Miss at 11-1 this year. I told you, super high on the Rebels, big believers in what they're going to be able to do. And so we see them coming in hot. Here. You got any comments for us, Craig?
You guys haven't seen the Ole Miss offensive line yet. I'm telling you.
So your offensive line comment has me scared and makes me think of a few years ago when
Lane doesn't want to run the ball anyway. So I mean, if Austin Simmons can move around and get it out quick, then they'll be fine.
I know.
Yeah, he's been moving around.
But I mean that's the thing is as a guy who covers Georgia. I mean, when Austin came in, I was like, oh, good, we're all set, and then he just goes right down the field. So it's like seeing more of that. But I'm thinking 11-1. But here's the thing, I know it. I'm absolutely biased for Lane Kiffin. I love everything. I love the way he runs his mouth. I love how he's a spokesman for the conference. I love what he has done for Oxford, Mississippi. The fact that they are growing like that as an institution is fantastic. So yeah, you know what? I'm okay if I was wrong because Lane will be in the playoff this year.
Let's pick a couple more really quick. I got Bama. My spring pick for Bama was 9-3. I've adjusted that to 10-2. I stole one back that I had them losing. Craig, any thoughts there? I think that 10-2 actually changes the trajectory for them and could get them into the college football playoff. Whereas 9-3 was going to have Kalen DeBoer swimming in it.
I've got 9-3 right now, but my gosh, they seem to be picking up all sorts of momentum. And my biggest question for Alabama is it's not the offense. They're going to fix the defense. That defense was very on Bama-like. I think even Tuscaloosa would be calling for Pete Golden to come back because they gave Pete all sorts of hell when he was there, and now he's done a great job in Oxford. So is that defense going to be right down in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, Casey, are you looking to comment here? Is there going to be a Bama meltdown? I know your affinity for the Tide probably is shining through here. So, anything that you need to say about our predictions?
No, you have to drive through Tuscaloosa to get to Starkville. That's all I know.
That is true. There's no other way there.
No, I had to go through
South
Oxford.
Carolina,
Okay, Craig. The rest of us aren't coming from Detroit. All right.
Coming from the South. Correct.
Yeah, we're in the South here, and when you come from the East Coast, you go through Tuscaloosa. Okay, let's go to Athens, who is where Craig is giving us the scoop every week, a couple times a week actually, on Last Word on College Football. Make sure you check him out. I have Georgia in the spring. I have them at 9-3. I gave them a little bump. Same thing as Bam. I got them at 10-2 now. The game that I have them losing in the spring that I'm kind of hedging back on is I love Georgia Tech this year, and I think they're actually Clemson's opponent in the ACC championship game, and I've said that for months. And so it could get dicey, in my opinion, at the end of the year in the bins, but I think that Georgia's just too much for them. And so I bumped them up to 10-2. Craig, you still got them there?
Georgia Tech can't win that game because they left Bobby Dodd Stadium, so that ain't going to work. I have Georgia at 10-2. I have them losing to Ole Miss. I have them losing to Texas. They have 3 very tough road games. They did not pass it last year. I need to see something from the offense to be able to make me move and make me feel like they're going to be anything more than that.
You got anything on the Dogs of the Tide, David? Any thoughts at the top of the SEC?
Yeah, with Alabama, look, DeBoer has won everywhere, and he's fulfilled wishes everywhere he's ever been. It's a different game now because, again, Mississippi State can spend $20 million. Ole Miss can spend $20 million. And it's bringing everybody up to where we're basically looking at the NFL. It's what Lane Kiffin is so good at: roster management, roster moves, things of that nature. And, so with Alabama this year, I think 9-3 is probably where I would have them. I don't think they're a shoe-in for the college football playoffs. Georgia, on the other hand, I think Georgia is a 10-2, 11-1 team. I think Georgia is going to do what Kirby Smart does every year, and that's going to be getting the playoffs. That's where I'm at with both of those teams. Now, I don't know if Ole Miss is going to beat them for the second year in a row. Craig, whichever one of you guys said that probably got more confidence than me in that.
I think we both said it, actually.
It comes down to the offense, David, and I'm going to be honest. Listen, by the time we get to that movement, or we get to that game,
shaking in his boots.
I'm scared. I'm scared over here. I'm just shaking. But by the time we get there, we will have a better sense of who Gunnar Stockton is and who the receivers are. Too often, those wide receivers and the running game and the offensive line let them down. If the offense is fixed, then I'm going to flip that pick, and I'm going to say that the Dogs will roll. If that offense is still problematic, then I'm going to think that Lane can do just enough to get that something done.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, we got one team left here to look at out of Austin, the favorite, the media favorite, the coach's favorite, everybody's favorite for 2025. That's Texas. I previously had them at 10-2 because I had them bookending their season with losses, losing to Ohio State, losing the rivalry game to – nice switch there, Craig – losing the rivalry game to A&M at the end of the year. But I adjusted that up to 11-1 just because of my lack of belief in A&M as the summer and fall camp has gone on. I'm picking up steam with Georgia's defense, and I think Arch obviously does enough to be electric and make some plays for them on the offensive side of the ball too. Craig, take us out of this season prediction with records with the most optimistic thing you'll ever say.
12-0. Arch Manning is in the Heisman conversation and leads Texas to the national championship with the SEC back on top. Take that, Big Ten. Let's go.
All right, there it is. There you have it. Craig's national championship prediction here as we lead into week 1. David Johnson from Rebels 247. Thanks so much for being here with us tonight. We appreciate it. We'll look forward to having you on as we see Austin Simmons and the crew unfold things the rest of the year. Thanks a lot, David. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. It's time for a little bit of fun here as we get into it. Just means more, genius. It's a fun time here, and we want to thank again, before we get into it, all of our guests tonight. We had Connor Goodson from Hog Sports. We had Maggie Johnson from Mizzou. That's who. We had 5-star offensive lineman, South Carolina Gamecock commit Darius Gray here with us. He did a great job of helping us pick some schedules and giving us thoughts on some SEC schools and Ohio State and some other school. I'm not sure what that one was, and then
wasn't a take.
And then of course David Johnson here at the end to talk the Rebels with us, as we are very high on them. And now it just means more genius. Casey's here. Take it away, you troll. Hey, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please do.
Can I give a shout out to our chat box over here? If you guys are still hanging in there, and I know that I see several of you, Queen is here, Michael is here. If Craig is over there still, Craig Godwin, if you're there, give me some backup here, guys, because I've seen this. I typically, I'm just kind of thumbing through what Casey's got up his sleeve, but there's some big spur on here. So go ahead and give me your backup in the chat.
Yeah, well, I just lost it, of course, so which is completely on brand.
Well, that's fine. Intern Lucas has got it for us. So,
weren't you in the chat earlier, Casey? So apparently, if you're in the chat, maybe at some point you get in the show.
I was in the chat earlier, and then I had to put a kid to bed. But yeah, so I just try to be an equal. See, even God doesn't want me to talk about the Gamecocks, but I try to be equal opportunity when I come on this show, and apparently ESPN. The big spur is not liking the fact that ESPN is giving South Carolina no love this year. So MBG put out four meltdowns from the Gamecock, from the big spur. I love the names though, guys. I got to be honest. So South CAC says, do ESPN talking heads actually hate us? Kirk is a big Clem D rider. Reese is too. Didn't have us ranked. Danny Cannell sucks and isn't on ESPN anymore, but was pushing for us last year. I think Dari and Chris Burns are generally friendly. Lou was our guy back in the day. I guess it seems like the primetime national guys don't want to acknowledge we could be any good. I mean, maybe. And then you got Swingin' Cock, who says South Carolina is not a part of ESPN's agenda for storylines unless it's convenient or unavoidable. I mean, as a Clemson guy, I guess that makes sense. And then I'm for USC says, I noticed at SEC Media Days when Coach Beamer was interviewed that Laura Rutledge, South Carolina alum, nudged the Bama Golden Boy next to her, and both began to snicker as he was talking. Very unprofessional act on the part of both of them, but they were all sucking up to Brian Kelly and some of the other coaches when they are being interviewed. I never have been able to figure out why the majority of ESPN announcers seem to have a prejudice against Carolina and our coaches, but it's always been that way as far as I can remember. Hell with all of them.
Hey, I have a quick correction to this commenting section that you had there. Your ad lib.
Who's
Laura? It's Alyssa Lang. Laura Rutledge went to Florida.
Yeah,
same thing.
She's a Gator.
I mean, you're all.
But we do love them both. We do love both Alyssa Lang.
He says same thing.
Same thing.
No, stop it. Stop it.
And then finally, chicken.
With a real Boom Musham, please stand up.
Chicken of NC says, I was eating dinner out and ESPN was on a TV near me. They had a graphic showing 6 notable week 1 matchups. Of course we weren't on there. Syracuse, Tennessee was one. So was TCU, North Carolina. Absolute disrespect. So, Rob, my question to you is, that was a lot of words for me to say in one time and read and all that.
You've been reading for a very long time. I feel like I should be taking a test on the novel that you've given us.
My brain hurts. So, what do you think? Is South Carolina getting disrespected in the?
Did they not watch
ESPN?
Netflix?
No. I mean, just generally speaking, does South Carolina garner the attention that some other national brands do? No. But I do think that because of Lenore Sellers, there is some extra attention around South Carolina this year. The big question mark, obviously, from a national standpoint, is the wide receiving core and replacing some of the big names on defense. And I think that I think that plays a role. Craig says in the chat box, not Craig McMichael, Craig Godwin, our good friend, says we have no history, but we can't get butthurt when we get no respect. I'm here for it. Just show up and win games. I think I agree with him there too. Some of the things that you see about the teams that are there are either they're national brands or they at least have a national championship, even if it's Tennessee almost 30 years ago. So,
not to pile on. Sorry, Craig. Not to pile on, especially because of where I went to school and who I'm a fan of. But it does seem like they're always looking for respect, right? And they're begging for it. So again, shut up, win some games. I mean, it's starting, right? You
Yeah.
guys are kind of on that upward
Queen
trajectory.
has a great response there. When you say they're looking for respect, he actually comes in right at that time and says, "I don't want the respect." That's when we thrive, just like Craig said. Prove it, then you get your flowers.
Warm up the Roy bus.
Warm
up the Roy bus, right?
What you got, Craig? About 9 games.
Little old South Carolina.
Little South Carolina, the stars of Netflix.
That's a Dabo line. That's not a South Carolina line.
Yes, the stars of Netflix. They got plenty of love. They got plenty of flowers. Now they have the plenty of expectations. And here's why you were not featured. You're playing Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is terrible. It's not a slight against South Carolina. It's a slight against Virginia Tech.
Yeah, and you know you can't really honestly you can't do much about that stuff. Like Tennessee scheduled Syracuse. I guarantee you when those games were scheduled, Virginia Tech was much better and Syracuse was much worse, and it just kind of flip flops.
That might be a game.
Syracuse is winning that game.
I backed off a bit, but me and Lucas will be there, so we'll see. We'll have some fun. All right, do we have one more?
I got one more just to throw everything off the rails.
This last one is great, and this has nothing to do with the Gamecocks, and it's actually really funny. And we're already over time, but get us off the rails, and I'll get us out of here.
My friend Cheeseburger 2 times from Auburn Sports says lingerie ads. Anyone else seeing this ad in the middle of the articles? Great caboose.
You know, that's why is that why we all read our college football articles? Is for the lingerie
algorithm may be a little messed up.
Yeah, I think the algorithm is definitely revealing something to our friend Cheeseburger 2X.
I've not had that problem when I'm on the message boards.
I have not either, and the handle says it all. I think the Cheeseburger 2X paired with the "Are you guys getting lingerie ads?" is a prime combination. Just gotta say,
enjoy week 1, y'all. Hey,
we've got a lot of fantastic matchups. Seriously, again, we have Missouri playing on Thursday night. Big game we didn't talk about tonight, but we I've talked about it in the previous weeks. Auburn and Baylor on Friday night is going to be a lot of fun. Casey and all the boys and Meemaw at Message Board Genius will be monitoring closely because there's going to be a meltdown in the Auburn-Baylor game one way or another. It's going to go to one side or the other. There's going to be a full meltdown. So we're looking forward to that. And we'll get started with Texas-Ohio State at noon next week. You got lots of matchups throughout the day. You also have Tennessee-Syracuse, like we said. You're going to get Clemson and LSU in the Battle of the Real Death Valley. On Saturday night, South Carolina plays 3 o'clock on Sunday against Virginia Tech in Atlanta. And so we're looking for great matchups across the league and across the country all weekend this weekend. And we'll be back on SEC Sunday night next week. But before that, we'll have a little preview for you on Friday morning. So we're excited to kind of give you some picks and give you our thoughts across the SEC. And then we'll recap things on Sunday night. We'll be welcoming in our good friend Joy with her SEC pretty hats and her presence on campus. And this week she will be at the Shoe for Ohio State and Texas. And so we'll get a little shot with her before we get going for the weekend tailgating, and we'll be back with you guys a couple of times next weekend during week 1. So make sure you stay tuned here on the Chief Sports Network. Again, thanks to all of our guests on the Traffic Performance guest line. Shout out to Hewitt Damaduras Law, HD Law SC, proud presenting partner of SEC Sunday Night. Thank you, Casey Cregan and Craig McMichael. I am Rob Williams. And this has been SEC Sunday Night live on the Chief Sports Network. We'll see you next week on week 1.